Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and it's a bit of a light week. It is, of course, the last new comic book day of 2020, and we can move on to bigger and better things in 2021. Though comic book-wise, 2020 was pretty dope. Definitely check out my top 20 comic books of 2020 list if you haven't already. I'll throw a link right up there or something. And I got to give a mad shout out to three wise men, Brandon Conkle, PDX Doug, and Kevin Johnston, for supporting us over at patreon.com/PCP, unlocking exclusive content, early access, and things like that. But just overall, really helping us out, supporting the channel and what we do here. We really do appreciate it. And from the bottom of our collective excitable hearts, station. So let's move on with the weekly comic book review, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Batman Annual number 5 from DC Comics, written by James Tynion IV, with artwork by James Stokoe. That is, in particular, the reason why this is the pick of the week. James Stokoe's artwork. I'm a big fan of his artwork, intricate and detailed, very stylistic, lots of great usage of color and layout and design. Really great stuff. Maybe his style is not going to be quite for everybody, but I absolutely love his style. He did a bit of a Moon Knight run with Jeff Lemire a little bit. He's done some work on Godzilla. I think he did an Alien book. I don't know. If so, I have to check it out. Anyway, aside from that, this is the origin of Clown Hunter. The origin of Clown Hunter revealed. The new character created by James Tynion. He's actually becoming a very interesting, kind of fleshed out character. A kid that's been traumatized because his parents were killed by the Joker. Now you get to see it in its full glory. Harley Quinn's connection to that. And like I said, with Stokoe's artwork, which also provides this very atmospheric tone to the book and throws it a bit off into its eccentricity. I really liked it. I thought it was super solid. James Tynion IV, definitely my writer of the year. He's been doing great work on his indie books, but he's also been doing really solid work on Batman. This is yet another one, rounding out, fleshing out one of his newer characters, and definitely setting up a lot of stuff to go into 2021 after Future State, when Tynion comes back and the Batman book is properly back. Anyway, there you go. So pick of the week was the Batman Annual number 5. Origin of Clown Hunter. Great artwork by James Stokoe. Then we have Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Last 52, War of the Multiverses. Man, these titles are getting so crazy long. You know, not just, at the indies, like Something is Killing the Children and we only find them when they're dead, but even over at, the big two. This is the final one-shot tie-in to Death Metal. The final issue comes out next week. By the way, I've read it and I loved it. But The Last 52 is, while this big epic final battle is happening between this new immortal Wonder Woman and the Batman Manhattan Who Laughs, the Darkest Night, right? This giant cosmic war for the sake of the entire DC multiverse. This one-shot lets different creators come in and focus on the smaller battles done by certain characters. So you got a Magdalene Visaggio story with Superman, Paul Pelletier, on the artwork that was pretty decent. You got the Wonder Woman story that's framing it all. That's the Snyder and Williamson bit with Dexter Soy's artwork. That was really good. You got a great Tynion and Alex Maleev Batman story in here. So basically it's just focusing in on these other characters. You got Swamp Thing, John Constantine, Penguin, Raven, Lois Lane, and the Atom. They're not all winners, but they're all pretty nifty and okay. This was not fully essential, but what I like about it is it adds the full-on weight and breadth and gravity to what is happening, because death metal is such a crazy, bombastic, cosmic event that sometimes it's missing the smaller beats. And that's what a lot of these one-shots that may not be necessarily super essential to follow the story, but they are kind of essential to follow the character impacts and moments on the many characters in the DC universe. This is just like the last stories in the DC universe, that kind of thing. So its exercise is super big. It's not 100% essential, but I thought it was a nice little touch. And like I said, Death Metal ends next week, and then it launches into Future State. Speaking of metal, we got Tales from the Dark Multiverse Dark Knight's Metal. This is the last one of these Tales from the Dark Multiverse one-shots scheduled so far. Second wave sold pretty decent. The first wave was huge, so we'll see if they do a third wave. But this one was one of my favorites of this second wave. I thought this was really cool. So it's credited as Scott Snyder. You know, he just kind of got together with these guys and came up with it. But Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, they're the writers, and the plot was come up by them and Snyder together. They were the writers of Sojicon, for instance, over at Vault Comics a few years ago, and that was just a fantastic book. But this is a cool little dark, twisted, what-if spin on Metal, the original Metal event. Like, basically, what if Barbados and all them win? What if they win, right? And then it focuses on Duke as he's traveling through the multiverses, trying to get away from them, and then it comes full circle. But I had a lot of fun with it. This book seemed to have a lot of fun with itself. Metal itself was a fun, boisterously rambunctious event, just like its predecessor, or its successor, Death Metal. But you can tell that they're having fun with this dark alternate tie-in as well, and it's very appropriate. But I had a lot of fun with that. I thought it was super cool. Keyword there was fun, apparently. I said it like 20 times. Justice League Endless Winter #2. This is the final bit of Endless Winter, a comic book to me that was anything but fun. I thought that it had a decent enough kind of climax here, but the problem with the whole event was that it went into all these meaningless tie-ins, but they weren't completely meaningless to the point that you could skip them if you wanted the whole story, because they all had essential little bits of the backstory. And that was, to me, the most compelling and interesting thing about this whole damn event. All the Justice League stuff, if you really break it down, it's very simple. Frost King breaks out, and guess what, y'all? They defeat him. But it's an interesting... I like the way it kind of wraps up, but as a little mini-event, this was sorely lackluster, and it's kind of a lackluster ending. It's just okay. It's okay. It's okay. And rounding out DC this week, we have the Jinny Hex special. It's a one-shot from Wonder Comics. This is the descendant of Jonah Hex. She was created by Nick Darrington and Brian Michael Bendis in one of those Batman Walmart specials, and then utilized in the most recent Young Justice book, right? But this is written by Max Visaggio with artwork by Gleb Melnikov, I believe. I messed that up, I'm sure. But I actually liked this. I thought it was pretty cool. It was nice seeing Jinny Hex get the spotlight, because when I was reading Young Justice, and I fell out of it because I just wasn't digging where Bendis was going with it, she was an intriguing enough character to me, but not enough time really got to be focused in on her and all the craziness that was going on, that it just was not, interesting to me. So it was nice to see a story about her past, her actual history, what's going on with that treasure chest of stuff she has. So I liked it. I thought it was a nice, fun, light read. It's not going to change your life, but it was pretty solid. And with not a lot of comics out this week. But from DC, that one was one of the better ones, I thought. Let's jump over to Marvel. We have Ghost Rider Return of Vengeance. First of all, let me go ahead and say this. This was my pick in Bueller's Thunderdome this week. We could really use your help, PCP Army. I'll throw a link to his top 10 video down below. Check out his video and comment below. Not here, but on that video, PCP, Ghost Rider. And if we win Thunderdome this week, we win it. We win it all. We take ultimate victory. So PCP Army, please help me out. And let's secure the vote and also show love for not just Ghost Rider, but for Vengeance, because that's what this book is doing. It's a one-shot comic book that's bringing back Vengeance, the 90s Ghost Rider spin-off character. I loved Vengeance back in the day. All the Spirits of Vengeance stuff, the Midnight Suns. This is really cool. Howard Mackie actually comes back to write this story. He was the one who wrote that badass Ghost Rider Danny Ketch series and brought in Vengeance and all that stuff, so I thought that was really nifty. Now, this book is not going to turn anybody into a Vengeance fan that's not already a Vengeance fan. But for those of us that are Vengeance fans, it's exciting to see one of our favorite 90s Marvel characters return to the Marvel Universe and be set up for anybody to come in at any moment, possibly, and utilize them and do something cool with them. Like, for instance, in a 5-year Blade plan. But Ghost Rider Return of Vengeance was decent. It's not going to blow you away, but I had a lot of fun with it because it was a nice return to my childhood. And I love that Stegman cover. Love it. Let's talk about some King and Black tie-ins. First of all, Namor. This is a mini-series written by Kurt Busiek. I really respect Kurt Busiek, but not for this Namor book. And definitely don't respect Marvel for this book, because this is the crappiest excuse for a tie-in ever. There is no tie-in. Now, you start getting bits, you're like, okay, I see how it's tied in. This jewel or whatever they're after is somehow probably tied to Null, but it's not tied into the actual event King in Black. I guess it's It's just terrible. I don't like it. It's overly verbose. It's boring. It's lackluster. It was not compelling. I did not enjoy this one at all. It was not fun. And it's at best strenuous. It's a very stretched. It's a very weird stretch to make that a King in Black tie-in. This is more of a King in Black tie-in. This one's so weird. So it's an Iron Man Doctor Doom one-shot special by Christopher Cantwell and Salvador Larroca, the creative team behind the recently concluded Eisner nominated series Doctor Doom. And this is and Cantwell's also writing Iron Man now, so it makes sense that they're doing this thing. And Iron Man, and when Tony and Victor get together, they have a nice, interesting dynamic. I don't feel like that dynamic's wholly understood here. I don't think Christopher Cantwell, at least if he doesn't have the same view of Victor and Tony that I do, and that comes across, and it's kind of irritating to me. That's just fanboy type stuff. As a crafted story, it's interesting. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's basically Doom and Iron Man in the midst of all this symbiote chaos, fighting a symbiote Santa Claus. But here's another thing that really, really jerks my johns. I hate it when we get a Christmas tie-in issue after Christmas. Why? I really hate that. I really hate that. I really do. The book itself is okay, but it's not. I don't know. I thought it was rather silly. Not that that's bad, but I didn't really. I don't know. Let me give this a real review here. I mean, the artwork's okay. Let's be honest. It's okay. The artwork's okay, but the story's just. I'm just not digging what Cantwell's doing with those characters. I don't know. X-Men number 16 is here, and I really like this issue. So since the end of Ten of Swords, all the other X books have gotten back to what they were doing, building up, right? Where are the big effects, though? I've been waiting, like, well, but isn't, like, Arakko supposed to now be coming and joining with Krakoa and all that? Well, this is the issue that addresses it. It makes sense because this is the Jonathan Hickman issue. Jonathan Hickman with Phil Noto on the artwork. I would love to see Noto as the ongoing artist on X-Men. I think the style is very crisp and clean, especially the way it's morphed into what he's been doing with the X books like Cable and X-Men. But this one was a really solid issue that addresses the whole issue of what happens to Krakoa and Arakko and all of that stuff and all the new mutants and what this starts setting up. It starts dealing with that and in a very interesting way that I was not expecting. And that's something that's really cool that Hickman's able to do, is keep subverting my expectations and surprising me and not telling a story. He tells a story that seems like you know where it's going to go. And we love those familiar trappings of story where we feel like we're in on it and you know what I'm saying? And then you twist it and it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And that's definitely something Hickman's been doing, especially in his X-Men run. I really like this, and also sets up an interesting way for the new direction of where this book's going forward with the I should say the organization that will be the X-Men and how they're going to pick that. That's really some interesting stuff. So I liked it. Wolverine number 8 is here. Benjamin Percy, I think, has been doing a great job on Wolverine, dealing with the character. In this one, though, Wolverine maybe starting to become a little too whiny, a little too, like, sad about his past. Like, how many Wolverine books have we read like that? Like, I get it. I know he's done some bad things, but, like, we're in this era of Krakoa. Seems like he's been happier. So it just seems kind of weird all of a sudden for in Wolverine. He's just like, oh, my past. But this is just, he's a tortured soul, right? But I don't know. Maybe it's because it's sparking out. The fact that he's having this happiness is causing him to like, go back into how crap of a person he thinks he is. So that's actually kind of an interesting thing. But the return of another one of my favorite 90s Marvel characters, and it's Maverick. Oh my goodness, I was so excited. Yeah, artwork by Victor Bogdanovic here on a little teaser that goes into the main story with Adam Kubert. And they're starting to get back to the Omega Red stuff, what's going on with this weird connection to Team X back in the day, and I love that stuff. That Jim Lee story in those early issues of X-Men Volume 2 where Maverick and Omega Red, it's just taking me back, and I'm loving it. Wolverine's getting a little too somber and sad, though. Sad Wolverine's not always my favorite Wolverine, but we have a lot of nice throwbacks to Wolverine's history as a solo act because it's appropriately the 350th issue. And they only charged us an extra $1. So at least they didn't go ridiculous and you're like $9.99 or something, DC. But that for this week. Don't worry, Marvel did that probably last week and we'll probably do it next week. Spider-Man here with issue number 55. This is the final issue, The Last Remains. And I'm calling BS. This is not the final issue of a story. Are you kidding me? I get that stories are supposed to continue on and on and on, but I'm telling you this. I have been patiently waiting through 55 issues of this, not to even mention all the point BSs that are out there, okay? And then Amazing Spider-Man 55 is here, and I'm like, okay, we're finally going to reach the end and climax of this Kindred story, everything that's been built up, and we know that Spencer's got a second wave, so what are we doing? Oh, so the Kindred stuff's just something to lead us into this next wave, and this doesn't even wrap up the Kindred stuff, or really explain why Kindred is the way he is, what he's doing exactly. They pose some questions, they tease some little things. There's some nice little bits here at times, but it's not a finale. Are you kidding me? Now, it does say, be sure to check out the next issue next year or next month or whatever for, like it's like, see the fallout from this story, the fallout. So this is the end of the story. I thought I had already aired all my grievances. I'm so pissed off at that damn Spider-Man issue. That's a great cover, though. That's a great cover. I'm so pissed off at Spider-Man. Avengers number 40 is here with yet another Phoenix story. Feels like we're getting one of these Phoenix stories like every freaking 6 months now. I think the Phoenix is one of those things that needs to, it's kind of like the Celestials, it's kind of like Galactus, the Watcher. Like, the less we see of them, the more big of a deal it is when they show up. So the Phoenix, to me, the whole idea has lost its appeal. It wasn't too long ago we had Phoenix Resurrection. It wasn't too long before that we had the Thanos bit with the Phoenix Seed from the Lemire run. It was really great stuff, actually. That was cool. And then, not too long before that, we had Avengers versus X-Men. It just keeps doing this, right? So I'm not that interested, right? So I'll automatically one strike against it. Next up, artwork's pretty decent, so that's okay. But there's an interesting idea here. And not trying to spoil too much, but almost let's say that the Phoenix is setting up a tournament of different heroes and villains to see who will be the next host. That seems like a cool enough event if I wasn't tired of Phoenix stories. And it is Jason Aaron, but I don't feel like they're doing anything new, exceptional, or cool. It's just another reason it feels, and maybe this could be argued the same with King in Black and all the Venomized stuff that they've been doing, but it seems like it's just another excuse to have a Phoenix version of Captain America and Wolverine and Black Panther so you can sell more toys, have more skins on video games, sell more downloadable content. I don't know how video games work. I just got a Genesis Mini, though. I was playing this new game called Streets of Rage 2. Really, really cool. I liked it. I had a lot of fun. But anyway, Avengers number 40 is okay. It's an interesting idea, but it's just it's boring because I'm done with the Phoenix stuff. Let's move over to the indies. They were a bit more exciting. First up, we have Wasted Space number 18 from Vault Comics. I'm very excited every time there's a new issue of Wasted Space. This is one of my favorite comic books on shelves, and there hasn't been near enough issues this year to please me. But I love this book so much. Michael Morisi does a great job of telling a great crude and rude and fun, rambunctious kind of space comedy that's a little bit Star Wars and a little bit Preacher. It has these philosophical musings that permeate throughout the book, and it's absolutely fantastic because of that. And now in issue 18, he's really doing some great character work with the main character of Billy, and I really like it. We're really amping the story back up. This is scheduled to go 25 issues, so we are nearing the end of this book, and they're putting things in place and setting up certain character arcs to reach certain points, and I think Michael Morisi is masterfully doing that throughout the story. Hayden Sherman continues to just pump out amazing artwork. I love their artwork. It's super clean. It's clean, but in a gritty, textured, super dense and complex way. Jason Wordie's colorings are just a masterpiece, especially in Wasted Space. He provides so much richness and texturized glory to the pages, and Jim Campbell just does a great job with the lettering, especially when he needs to throw in a new little dialect for a new character that very much reminds me of General Grievous, and I think they just are super, super badass. Wasted Space is one of my absolute favorites, and I love it so freaking much. And it's always exciting when we have a new one from Vault. Speaking of Vault, we have I Walk with Monsters number 2. This is written by Paul Cornell with artwork by Sally Catarino. Messed that up, I'm sure. And we got Dearbhla Kelly over there on the coloring. I Walk with Monsters number 2 is really, really solid. I liked issue number 1. It's about this young woman who had a really rough childhood and a very abusive father. And now she goes out and hunts down these abusive, like child kidnapping, murderous men. And her friend, who is a changeling and just a terrible monster, she walks with monsters to find monsters to eat them. And it's been really, really cool. But she's got this past, and it's starting to connect with their next investigation, you could call it. I'm having a lot of fun with this book. I think the artwork is great. It hits all those character notes. The coloring is magnificent. Everything about it is handled really, really well. It's got a great pace to it, a nice flow. In 2 issues, we've learned a lot about the character, a lot about the backstory. The emotional weight has been set, and now I really feel, especially at the last page here, that it's really about to erupt into some craziness in the next few issues. But I Walk with Monsters #2, pretty frickin' solid. Engine Ward is here with issue #6, another one from Vault Comics. This one is written by George Mann with artwork by Joe Eisma, colored by Michael Garland, Hassan Otsman Howe on the lettering. I'm really liking this book. This one is, to me, what you could call a slow burn, because they've had a lot of density to the story, but they haven't really progressed the story forward too much. Now it really feels like we're picking up some momentum. We are at the halfway point of the series, though, so this is setting up that last half where it should be more because all the things are in place now. But I really do almost like the slower pace that they took to build up this world, to build up this history, to build up these characters, and I'm having a lot of fun with it now. It's more intriguing to me each issue as it progresses, and the story is now picking up pace and getting faster, and I really hope it continues that. And I really love these wraparound covers that they've been doing. Let's jump over to IDW with Canto 2, The Hollow Men, issue #4. The penultimate issue of the series, I think. No, there's 6. Pretty sure there's 6. So it's not the penultimate. Not yet. I haven't been able to say that word yet. Maybe I have, but Canto 2, The Hollow Men #4, really liking this book. It hits all those emotional chords that a typical issue of Canto does. You see the return of the giants from the first volume. That's pretty fun, but we've had some really heavy moments in the last couple issues of Canto, so now we're we're treated to a little bit more lighter fare, but a lot of heavy significance as the story progresses. I still love Vittorio Astoni's coloring on this book. I think it provides great, elegant texture to it. I really like the artwork by Drew Zucker. David Boer's doing a great job with the story, of making a story to the root of story. And we've been told so many times that obviously there's a tie-in to Wizard of Oz. There's a Wizard of Oz influence here, and there's a Dante's Inferno influence here, and they really start melding together incredibly well in this issue of Canto 2, The Hollow Men, which is #4. Colonel Weird, Cosmagog, #3. I think this one might just be 4 issues. If so, this is the penultimate issue. Stop forcing it, Robbie. Anyway, Colonel Weird, Cosmagog, #3 by Jeff Lemire, Tyler Crook, set in the Black Hammer universe. This has given us all the answers, if you want to call it that, we've ever had about Colonel Weird. This has been a great story about a dude who's not stuck in time, and he's bouncing from place to place. He's confused. He's kind of losing his mind. He can't remember. So now he's reliving his past. So we are learning about Colonel Weird's past, his origins, what exactly led him to be in the state that he's in. And it's really cool how it's tying all these different elements from previous Black Hammer books together, but you don't have to have read any of that to really appreciate or understand this. Tyler Crook's artwork is psychedelic, really cool and nifty, cartoonish at times, but at the same time weighted with a realistic gravity and weight to it. But Colonel Weird, Cosmagog #3, magnificent. Also from Dark Horse, we have True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, National Anthem, issue #4 of 5. This might be the penultimate issue. Stop forcing it. Just let it go, Robbie. Anyway, National Anthem's been really fun. This is the prequel to the original True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys comic book. Gerard Way, Sean Simon are back. Now we got Leonardo Romero on the artwork with Jordi Belair. I'm absolutely loving the artwork. It's edgy. It's punk rock. It's got great colors. It's zany, wild, psychedelic when it needs to be. Uber violent. I'm loving the hell out of this book. It is a bit challenging. Hard to kind of grasp hold of the narrative at times because it just keeps going, and it keeps going at a furious pace and throwing more information at you and not really taking the time to let it sink in. But that's something I liked about the original Killjoys, but this one seems like that's more ramped up, but I'm still having a lot of fun with this one. It's definitely going to be rewarding in rereads. But National Anthem, #4. True Lies of the Fabulous Killjoys. Norse Mythology is here with issue number 4 of 5. Is the bits old. Norse Mythology number 4 is here. Neil Gaiman, P. Craig Russell. I'm really liking this. It's an adaptation of Neil Gaiman's book Norse Mythology, which of course is his adaptations of Norse mythology. And so it's cool. P. Craig Russell does a great job. He's been doing this for years. He's made a career out of taking Neil Gaiman's words and making elegant images out of them with wonderful composition. P. Craig Russell, I don't think, gets appreciated near enough today as someone like Mike Mignola. He is literally on that level as far as panel design, as far as sequential storytelling, as far as setting atmosphere and mood just through panel placement. Amazing stuff. Norse mythology is really cool. It's got this cute, whimsical, light touch, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. Issue number 4 is here. There you go. There's a David Mack cover, too. That's even doper. Kaiju Score number 2 is here from Aftershock. Really liked issue number 1. It's a heist comic set in a world where kaiju exist. So it's a heist that's planned around a kaiju attack on a city. So that was a really cool, interesting concept. And the way they introduced the characters in a very heist story type way in the first issue, I found very compelling. The artwork's a bit dynamic, maybe not going to be to everybody's taste, but I think it does a great job with these very expressionist, expressive characters. They emote very, very well. There's a nice zany adventures feel to the artwork and to the story. In issue number 2, now we're getting to the heist. And we're getting a pretty solid heist story right now that's hitting all the typical beats. So it's not really pushing the envelope too far. It's just kind of genre mashing up and doing a kaiju story and everything. But complications persist, and there's some interesting developments that happen to issue number 2. So I didn't like issue number 2 near as much as the setup in number 1, but I did really like it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I hope they have some nice, clever twists to the heist, because that's what a good heist story needs. Lost Soldiers is here with issue number 5. This is the final issue. This is definitely something I'm going to have to sit down and reread, because the finale of this is almost all like a thematic finale, right? It's basically a character explaining to you what the book has been about, which has been about the after effects of going through war, right? And so it's about soldiers and what happens to them afterwards and how they can't get over some things. And it's a great exploration, and it's brutal, and it's tragic. And I do realize that in issue 4, we hit a climax in a part of the story, and to have this like weighted down emotional finale, I felt was like really powerful. But it definitely means I got to sit down and read it together to see how it flows as a whole. Alesh Kott is a fantastic writer. I love most of his work. And then we've got Luca Casalanguida on the artwork, and I have loved the artwork in here. I'd love to see this cat get a hold of a Punisher book. Hell, throw Alesh on there too. That would be a crazy-ass Punisher book, let me tell you that. Bad Mother is here with issue number 5. This is the final issue of the AWA series. Bad Mother has... it's not a cliche ending. It's just the ending this story should have, right? You can see the ending coming. It's pretty decent. One good thing I can say about this story, though, is that Deodato's artwork, which started off feeling rushed and loose, really tightened up towards the end. So the artwork is probably the best in issue 5 out of all of them. And that's usually not how that goes. But it was a nice, interesting finale. This would make a cool little movie or a TV show or something like that. It's a cool concept, basically, about a soccer mom who has to go all crazy, all medieval on some people because her daughter gets kidnapped. And so I liked it. It's kind of like Death Wish meets a mom. It's like Weeds meets Death Wish in a way. I don't know. But I did like the finale. I liked the story. It didn't really do too much with the characters, but it was a neat concept, and it seems like AWA is really just trying to pitch concepts out. So that's pretty decent. So those are the comic books I read. And I do want to wrap up real quick with saying that this new issue of Horror Hound is out. And if you're a horror fan, be sure to be prepared for January 9th over at Dylan's Comics. Go ahead and sub up to Dylan's Comics. There will be a link down below, because every Saturday night, he's going to have Dylan's Horror Show, and I will be the co-host, and we'll be talking about horror movies, horror comics, horror everything. It is going to be really fun. If you liked Horror Fest here at PCP this year, you're going to love that show. But this Horror Hound issue has a really great spotlight on the Universal classic Invisible Man, including pictures of all the toys and merchandise, including my Michelangelo TMNT. But I had a lot of fun. Horror Hound has been a really, really great magazine for horror fans. If you're like me and Fangoria has been quite disappointing, I would suggest jumping and checking out some issues of that because it's really, really cool stuff. Anyway, that's what we got for you. This was the last weekly comic book review of the year 2020, but have no fear. We'll be back next week for the very first new comic book day of 2021, the sequel. Anyway, thank you so much for your support this year and checking out the videos. Be sure to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Next week, Future State starts, and we got some exciting releases from Marvel and some great indies, so be on the lookout for that. So this week, before we continue, everybody liked that recap I did last week. Pick of the week was Batman Annual. That was pretty solid. DC had some decent books and some okay books. Marvel was kind of lackluster this week, with the one highlight being the X books. Spider-Man. So mad, so mad. Wasted Space, yay. I Walk with Monsters, yay. Canto, yay. Cosmagog, yay. National Anthem Kaiju score. That was pretty decent Kaiju score. Lost Soldiers, pretty deep, reflective ending. I really like that. And Horror Hound, for all you horror hounds out there. Anyway, thank you so much for your support this year. We really do appreciate it. Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcast blogs and a whole lot more. I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.